Well, hello and good afternoon, Bob. Thank you for joining today's Q&A session.
Happy to be here. Always happy to talk to you guys. No problem at all.
So our focus today is is going to revolve around exploring voice, kind of tailored to the warehouse and how it can be used to obviously create, really good efficiencies within different warehouse processes, transactions. So very fortunate to have Bob Bova, the president of AccuSpeech, with us here today to answer our questions and kind of talk us through all this. So Bob, tell us a little bit about yourself and AccuSpeech.
Well, I mean, the company was started in 2006. I really came on board and started running it 2008. We raised some funding and really started to deliver solutions to the warehouse in the 2011 2012 timeframe. We focused primarily on device-based solutions because we felt that devices were going to get stronger. We originally designed it back in 2005 for a Palm Pilot, and we have since gone on to support all different types of operating systems. Like we support all the Microsoft OSs, we support Android, we support iOS, and really take advantage of the robust type of environment that the new mobile devices, whether they're tablets or PCs or laptops or handheld scanners, whatever they are, we take full advantage of the strength of that technology as it has continued to evolve over the last 15 years so that it really optimizes conversational user interfaces for applications in the warehouse, outside the four walls, mobile inspection, maintenance, repair. We've really tried to match our evolution of our technology with the basic evolution of the hardware. So it's we've come to a point where it's a really exciting time to be able to offer this type of a solution to customers and for resellers to sell. We're excited to be part of it. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we're doing.
Yeah, and so when we talk about voice, so obviously voice solutions, sometimes there's maybe some negative connotation that might come along with that. So what is AccuSpeech doing differently that you guys are kind of differentiating yourself from others in the industry?
Well, if there's a negative connotation, but there's been legacy systems around since the late '90s, right? And most of those systems are legacy based. They are a lot of them use proprietary hardware and software. They are extremely expensive, and again, they're server based. There's a lot of custom engineering. There's a lot of middleware, and there is now a movement among customers that need to be agile. They need to be quick. They need to be able to make changes on the fly. They need to be able to take something and integrate it quickly. So our device-based technology, which doesn't have any of the legacy type of servers or hardware, we run on standard hardware that's available to everybody. And again, everything is on the device, so you don't have to have a connectivity to a cloud. You don't necessarily have to have connectivity to anything except inside the warehouse. But the whole idea is to make it flexible and fast so that customers can utilize voice the way they want to. Because that's another big part of what's happened is customers have now decided that they want to use conversational interfaces for how they want to use them. They don't necessarily want one size fits all. This is what we do. This is how we do voice picking. So this is how you have to do voice picking. And with all the customers that we have, even in the commonality of vertical markets, everybody does it differently. So
Mhm.
the ability to customize becomes very important. And then when you add the automation that we do with it, so that you take a process that maybe was 25 steps in picking and you make it 8 steps because you can do a lot of things automatically in the background, everything gets very exciting for the customer. So that's really kind of the difference between what I would consider the legacy type of systems, which again are either based in the cloud now, or they're based on their own server, which has connectivity to your backend WMS or ERP, and there's a lot of heavy lifting versus a very flexible, light, easy to deploy device-based technology that is very, very quick in terms of making changes and upgrades, so that the customer is always on top of their business in terms of how they want to do it. So,
Yeah, and you kind of just touched on a little bit too, in the picking process, but what is it about voice that where is the value in voice? What about it saves users so much time and why does it bring so much value?
Especially, well, if you want to look at picking specifically, the fact is that that's the highest density application in the warehousing market. So if you can direct the person with voice commands, but you can also make it conversational so that you can speak to it, and then you can add, the basically the next level of automation, so that if I say replenishment, automatically the barcode scan and the location scan that I've already done for where I am automatically gets populated into the replenishment screen that opens automatically. All the data that I already have is populated, and it can just ask you, "Is this correct?" And then you say yes. It moves on, and then you move on. So as we continue to work with our customers and we start to understand what their workflows actually do, and how we can get the efficiencies of scale and makes voice automation truly work for them specifically, because in the past voice picking has been, this is how we do it, this is the application, we'll train everybody, this is how it works. And there were benefits to that, because the ability to be eyes free and hands free and listen and have basically voice directed picking was very helpful. But now it's a whole new expectation level, because you have to do voice automation so things happen in the background. It has to be a conversational type of an interface so that you talk to it and it speaks to you. So recognition is very important. And when you start to really break down how you can add the most value, especially in picking, but then you start to understand that a CUI like that can be utilized in receiving and shipping and all different types of applications. And then you add to that that you only need one license to talk to all of them. So the ROI becomes very attractive. The functionality of the technology itself becomes ubiquitous across your enterprise. I can use it for anything, and I only need one license. So there's a lot that has happened to, what I would say again, this conversational user interfaces as it relates to device-based industrial applications, and it's a really exciting time to review, the knowledge of this technology, let folks in and have a look at it, because it can have a really big impact on your productivity, on your accuracy, and in terms of taking your user experience for your workers to a whole new level. So
Yeah, and I know you kind of said, there's obviously a lot of different areas within the warehouse we can look at, putting some voice automation. Is there any specific areas where where customers can almost expect like an immediate value right away?
picking's always been the number one, because again, it's the highest density application in any warehouse. So once you start to get comfortable with the technology, which can take, 4 6 weeks, people start to really get into it. There is a natural human element to change that sometimes has to be, talked about and bifurcated, basically the people who really want to use it and the people who have just said, I don't want anything new. But once the management team says, "Hey, this is where we're going. We want you to use it," then it really starts to gain a lot of momentum. Especially, you're going to get 80% of the people who are really going to want it, 20% that are going to push back. But a lot of companies, they bonus their folks on more higher productivity and fewer errors. This type of a technology implementation is going to help with that. So there are a lot of folks who really love this new technology. And again, the user experience with newer technologies is really very exciting. We can also add, for instance, the Zebra HD 4000 glasses. That's a potential implementation if people are interested in testing and looking at, especially for training. They're really terrific. So those we've integrated with voice on the devices that Zebra supports it. So there are all kinds of opportunities for folks to look at how they can do their work a little more efficiently, and also again to really improve the user and worker experience, so that they're going to be using newer technology and feel they're, a more critical element to the success of the company. So but again, you're always going to have people that are going to push back. It always happens.
Hmm.
But like I say, that once everyone realizes that this is the direction the boat's being rowed, they all, it happens.
Yeah, and is that user adoption, or at least some of the initial reluctance to user adoption, is that usually the biggest hurdle you guys are seeing when implementing voice?
Honestly, it varies by customer. There are some customers where they just scoop it up because they're if it is a very high density environment where they're just going and blowing as fast as they can, the chance to have an opportunity to help with that, especially if they realize they're having a hard time getting workers, which a lot of folks are still, it they welcome it and they like to test it. We've had opportunities where we've come in with the stuff and we've had the entire work groups go just finally, my gosh, this is great. And we have areas where we come in and people realize that gosh, if I'm 150% better at my productivity, that means that some of us might be on the way out, but that very rarely happens. Usually they just work faster and better and there's faster throughput for everybody and everyone wins.
Mhm.
But it all depends on how you want to perceive the implementation of new technology. But we all know that there's always going to be pushback from the human condition from change. Change can be difficult to accept. But again, it's one of those things that how you deploy the solution makes a big difference. And again, that's a big benefit of our stuff is the deployment takes a lot of the guesswork and the trepidation from management away from the legacy type of systems where you had to train everybody all at the same time. You had this huge change to a system all at the same time. And with ours, you can deploy one user at a time, five users at a time, one shift at a time. So people get used to the technology. And as you have that first rollout, that controlled rollout, you can make the changes on the fly. So if someone, or like say you have five people, two your best, two your lowest, and somebody in the middle, and they use it for the first half of the day, and they come back before lunch and go, "Hey, this part's great, but this is too slow, and can you skip this?" And so, our guys can make those changes while they're having a sandwich, and they make those changes, and they recompile those little files, send them all again, they deploy to the guns. There's no back end change or anything; they just push it out, and then they try again. Then they'll come back at the end of the game. Oh, that's better. That's really cool. So now can I, what about this and this, and then overnight? So by the end of the first week of what we call user acceptance testing, depending on how many languages we deploy, which of course we could have multiple languages on a device for a single project. But once we have that 5 days in and we've done that, then for production rollout, the customer can decide they can roll it out any way they want. And of course, we're there for that first week of production too. But for the most part, what we're doing is we're training on-site engineers to how to make changes and how to use the toolkit and all that kind of stuff. So it makes for a much more um, customizable solution, and the folks they usually tend to really enjoy the whole situation. They like the tech, but again, people are people. It is
Yeah.
what it is.
Right. And I know, and I think that's one of the biggest value that AccuSpeech brings is just you guys are able to just, like you said, customize on the fly. You can make small changes, big changes, and hey, let's test it out first before we even, roll it out to everyone.
Right, and it just in hand with that, the looking at what I would consider the legacy type of server-based voice-directed picking, when we talk to a potential customer who's interested, and we're currently replacing quite a bit of the older technologies, they get a little, skeptical about, oh gosh, this sounds too good to be true. So what we like to do is we like to come in for a day or two on site, connect to their network, voice automate two, three, four screens right in front of them, and show them how it would work on their network, connected
Mhm.
to their devices over their Wi-Fi network. And once we see it, once we show it and they see it and they understand how it works, we have a very high closure rate of customers because there a lot of folks are saying this is what we've been waiting for a long time. This is a like I say a CUI, a conversational user interface tool that I can utilize with any of my applications and make it the way that's going to work best for us. And it's important from a CUI perspective that we support 56 languages, multiple languages on a single device. It doesn't matter about accents or different types of vibrato that's all gone. The voice engines now are just tremendous, and the one we use is that's the top one in the industry. So that all goes away too. So once you understand that that's the capability now, I mean, it's 2023 going into 2024. It's not 2010 anymore. So there's so much wonderful technology now that we can take advantage of. In fact, we even have our own voice canceling stuff right in the engine on the device now. So there's all kinds of different things that we can do, levels that we can gain levels. There's all kinds of stuff that we can do that make for the best possible user experience, depending upon how loud it is in the warehouse, what they're doing. Are they near a box cutter? Are there metal wheels on the thing? We've seen it all. Okay, and once you start to understand how great the new, the techno, it's not new technology, but what the newer technologies are, there's quite a bit of capability and opportunity, within anywhere else. So.
Mhm. And you kind of talked about it a little bit too, about the on-site proof of concept you guys do. I guess from a customer perspective, what kind of expectations should we be setting with them of kind of what's expected of them if they want to start looking at voice? I mean, do they have to give you a bunch of data from their back end system? Do they have to, help provide a bunch of resources to help get this thing off the ground?
Um, that's a great question. The thing that we really appreciate the most is we actually have a template that we send out to the potential customer about, this is what our expectation is to come in for a couple days, in terms of making it easy for us to connect to your network. And what we like to do is have a subject matter expert on the work process and the workflow, so that as we're voice enabling stuff, we can ask them, hey, if I were to say this and skip this, if it's not, important, can we do that? And just so that we can show the full capability of what voice automation can do. So we like to have, an expert that can connect us via IT to make sure we connect to the network. We don't need to connect to the backend WMS system. We just need to connect the way that they connect to their backend applications, whether it's usually terminal emulation, but we use browsers, and we're also integrated now with some standard WMS systems too, that our customers that have integrated basically white boxed our stuff so that our standard toolkit works for that too. So once we basically send what our expectation level is, we have a subject matter expert, we have someone to help us with IT connectivity. Within a day and a half, 2 days, we'll voice enable 2, 3, 4 screens, show the automation, show it on their devices, show it on their network, and they'll understand that, hey, this is a tool that's going to basically take what you've already optimized, because most of these customers work really, really hard to optimize these applications
Mhm.
to get the best productivity out of them. So when we show them what we do, we help them down that continuous improvement cycle. It's like, hey, now we're going to take another step to make it even better. And our favorite challenges are when people come to us, customers, potential customers come to us, say, oh no, there's anybody that anybody can do to make our stuff better. It's as good as it can be. Those are our people.
Right.
We love talking to those folks, because then we can come in and we can say, really? Because we could do this and this and this. And then they say the eyes get big, and then you hear, oh, gosh, we could use this in receiving. We could use this in shipping. And of course, receiving, that's what happened at Tootsie Roll. We were doing picking for them and realized that all the receiving they were doing in that huge facility of theirs was was taking up so much time. They had to fill out forms for every single pallet of every single, so what we did was, when they scanned it, if it was from the same pallet, we just, once they filled in the form once, they could just scan the next one and just say repeat, and would fill the whole thing in automatically. Fill the whole thing in automatically. We had another customer where it was in shipping. They had three huge um, bays. They had one for FedEx, one for UPS, and one for a local shipper. This was in South Carolina, and the packages would come off the conveyors. There were 4 or 5 guys there, and they would scan it, and they'd look at the gun. It would either be UPS, FedEx, or the local carrier. And every year, 12% was wrong. They would put it in the wrong. So all we did was we popped the headset on them, and they would scan it, and would tell them UPS, UPS, UPS 3 times, and it went to zero. So these are the kinds of things where, even if we do picking and you get a really nice return, there's a whole lot of other places that you can put a headset on somebody and build a conversation user, a CUI, and have them do their job better, faster, quicker, everything. So, sky's the limit now. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have to build these huge back end integrations for every single application. You don't need a server for every application now. You just build every one of those little projects on the device that's going to connect to the application, and you're good to go. And one license talks to all of them. So your ROI is a lot more effective when you can buy one thing and talk to lots of things.
Right. And let's because you brought it up. So let's talk about that a little bit more, Bob. What kind of ROI can customers expect when they look at AccuSpeech, whether it be in picking, put away, whatever it may be?
Well, again, very good question. The key is to understand Everyone's different. Everybody's picking is different. Everybody's applications are different. Their workflows are different. So somebody might get 150% improvement. Somebody might get 42% improvement. Some guys might get 15%. The only way that we can actually tell is if, like I said, we take a look and we do an analysis of the application and see where we can have the biggest impact. But from our perspective, the percentage of improvement is important, but what's more important is how quickly do you get your money back, right? So we're such a cost-effective solution to begin with that we've never really had an ROI more than 10 months because it's not expensive. So once you come in and you take a look at how much it costs per device, not per user. So if you're running two shifts, one device, that's two users per device. Again, you're saving money there. The whole idea is to make it as effective as possible so that whoever, I mean, even if three shifts is even better, I guess. So, the whole point is how do we make the process better so you're going to get a fast ROI, not necessarily because you have 20 pickers or 2,200 pickers. We got customers that fit everywhere. And the whole idea is to make it effective depending upon, specific to what your implementation is. That's the idea. So we try to get the best ROI because, the best productivity we can, but we really keep an eye on ROI. In fact, we have a really effective ROI tool that we give to our resellers and to all our really good customers so that they can take a look at how many users they have, if they want to buy all new equipment, because that's usually the biggest investment is if they want to buy all new Android equipment or all new
Right.
whatever. So, and we have line items for all that. How much the headsets are going to cost? Are you going to use, you want vision? Do you want, and you can build all that out with all the data that you usually have in house, and we can get to some reasonable forecasts. Say, hey, if we get 22% productivity increase, it's gonna your ROI will be 10.2 months. If you get 52%, it's going to be so. And we're happy to share that information when anybody wants to see it. So
Yeah, it almost like you said, it almost does sound too good to be true. A quick ROI. It's very robust, very customizable, but obviously a very real solution that's working for a lot of customers out there.
oh, we're installed with Fortune 20 customers all around the world, supporting. I mean, in Bangkok, China, Germany. I mean, we're everywhere. So the whole point is we give the keys to the kingdom usually to the customer. We'll train them on our stuff so that we become a higher level support vehicle for them. They can start doing new applications on their own. They can make quick tweaks and changes. And one thing we learned through the COVID experience was you've got to be agile. You have to be able to change things, add things, take things away, add SKUs, take SKUs away. When we show how our stuff works, they have an opportunity to in-house, deliver changes quickly. Just push them out the way they do with their standard MDM, and they can keep up with whatever they need to change instead of having to call a vendor and you should come in and you should make a change. You don't need to do that anymore, and that makes a big difference. Again, we learned a lot over the last 3 years in terms of how flexible and fast you need to be able to turn on a dime. And our technology was always designed to accelerate that kind of an implementation. So again, things have kind of come to the point where everything that we've done that we thought we wanted to do to deliver the solution that we have because we felt it would be the most beneficial to the biggest amount of customer base, it's starting to come true. So it's an exciting time here. It's things are going well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, obviously we talked about a lot today, a lot of good points made. I mean, Bob, is there anything that you want to leave as kind of a final remark that you just want people at the very least to take away from this conversation?
Well, I mean, we have social media presence everywhere. I mean, we have obviously you can go to the website. You can go to LinkedIn. We've got our own YouTube page, a channel. But I suggest that all your customers reach out to you and have a look at, tell them, find out, what WMS are using, if they what TE they're using, are they on Android or not, or what their chances are of having a successful deployment right off the bat, or what the challenges might be, and then invite us in for a proof of concept. We'll come in with you and go to your customer and say, hey, let's take a look at how we can help. Why don't you have a look at how our stuff works? Because until you do, it's still just me talking to you and you talking to me, and until the rubber meets the road and you can see how it actually works, in your warehouse, on your network, on your devices, on your applications, then that's when, like I say, you can really start to say, okay, I see the value. I can see where the ROI. I can see, and that's really what we suggest is just give us an opportunity to come in and show what we can do.
Yeah, and I think too, just the overall fact that it's what you guys have. It's so much different than the old legacy voice. So if people are familiar with the old kind of legacy equipment, looking at AccuSpeech is going to be completely different than what they're used to.
I agree.
So, all right. Well, thank you, Bob, so much for your time and your insights. As you said, any further questions, come to Liberty Systems. We'll have a conversation with you. We'll bring in Bob and his team to get you guys up and running. But yes, thank you, Bob, so much for your time today.
Anytime, Clint. Anytime.